On May 20, 1993, to 25 years ago today, television audiences said farewell to Sam Malone, the fictional Red Sox pitcher turned proprietor of Cheers. Though it's the Boston bar where everybody knows your name, there's plenty you probably don't know about the classic sitcom, which spent 11s on the air. 1. Cheers almost didn't make it through season 1. Like many of television's greatest success stories, e.g. Seinfeld, Cheers was not an immediate hit. It premiered on September 30, 1982 to dismal ratings, 77th place out of 100 shows that week, according to Nielsen. It was NBC's entertainment president at the time, Brandon Tartikoff, who saved the show from cancellation during its first 2. The Bullfinch pub, on which Cheers is modeled, is now called Cheers Talk About Life Imitating Art. After it was decided that the series would be set in a bar instead of a hotel, co-creators Glenn and Les Charles decided the locale should be moved to New England. Boston was chosen partially because only 5 short-lived television shows claimed the city and the East Coast pubs were real neighborhood hangouts, wrote Dennis A. Bjorklund in his book, Toasting Cheers. As the show's popularity rose, it didn't take long for word to spread that the Beacon Hill Tavern was the real Cheers, though only the exterior shots were filmed there, turning the neighborhood hangout into a tourist attraction. To satisfy the masses, a second location, this one was actually called Cheers and featuring a replica of the bar viewers were used to, was opened in nearby Faneuil Hall in 2001. 1 year later, the Bullfinch officially changed its name to Cheers. 3. Sam Malone was originally a professional football player. In the script's earliest incarnations, Sam Malone was an ex-football player, which made sense considering that Fred Dryer, the former NFL defensive end who would go on to star in Hunter, was a top choice to play the role of Sam opposite Julia Duffy, as Diane William Devane was also a strong contender. Ultimately, it was the chemistry between Ted Danson and Shelley Long that led to them getting the gigs. Once the casting was finalized, the creators swapped out football for baseball, based on Danson's body type. 4. Ted Danson attended bartending school. Danson spent 2 weeks at a bartending school in Burbank, California as part of his training to play Sam. 5. Norm and Cliff weren't intended to be regular characters. Both George Wendt and John Ratzenberger auditioned for the same role in the pilot, a minor character named George who had a single line, beer. The character's name was changed to Norm Peterson when Wendt was cast. But Ratzenberger wasn't about to give up so easily. As I was leaving the office after the audition, I turned around and asked them, "Do you have a bar know-it-all?" The Bridgeport, Connecticut-born Ratzenberger recalled to Ability magazine. None of the creators was from New England. They were all Hollywood-centered. And I said, well, every local bar in New England has got a know-it-all, someone who pretends to have the knowledge of all mankind between his ears and is not shy about sharing it. Thus, Cliff Clavin was born. 6. Norm Peterson is based on a real guy. In 2012, co-creator Les Charles told GQ that Norm was based on a real person. I worked at a bar after college, and we had a guy who came in every night. He wasn't named Norm, but he was always going to have just one beer, and then he'd say, maybe I'll just have one more. We had to help him out of the bar. Every night. His wife would call, and he'd always say, tell her I'm not here. 7. Norm's never-seen wife Vera is voiced by George Wendt's real wife. Though SHES only credited in one episode, George Wendt's wife Bernadette Burkett provided the voice for Norm's wife, Vera. Burkett did make one appearance on the show, as a love interest of Cliff's, in 3. 8. John Ratzenberger improvised many of Cliff's fun facts. Many of the random and untrue facts that Cliff Clavin offers up were ad-libbed by Ratzenberger. After a couple of years on the show they realized they could trust me not to mess it up, Ratzenberger told Deseret News in 1993. So little by little they've let me just sort of run off. Because I know when to stop. It's easy to improvise comedy. It really is. But the art is knowing when to shut up and let other people talk. That's a hard thing to learn. 9. Some of the dialogue came from real bar conversations. In order to nail the bar talk aspect of the series, the creators regularly visited bars in the Los Angeles area to eavesdrop on patrons' conversations. In the series premiere, there's an argument about the sweatiest movie ever made, which was lifted from one of these overheard conversations. 10. Cheers wasn't afraid to tackle social issues. Cheers writers never shied away from taboo topics such as alcoholism or homosexuality, though they always had a sense of humor about them. The one episode The Boys in the Bar, in which one of Sam's former teammates announces that he is gay, earned writers Ken Levine and David Isaacs a GLAAD Media Award. 11. Plans for an HIV scare for Sam had to be abandoned. In 1988, the Writers Guild of America went on strike, which meant that several planned episodes of the series were never filmed. Among them was a 6 cliffhanger in which Sam learns that a former girlfriend is HIV positive. 12. Rhea wasn't the only Perlman on the set. Rhea Perlman wasn't the only member of her family to grace the set of Cheers. Her younger sister, Hyde, produced more than 24 episodes between 1985 and 1986 and wrote several episodes throughout the show's run. Perlman's father, Phil, played one of the bar regulars named Phil. 13. J. Thomas murdered Eddie Lebec. When character actor J. Thomas wasn't portraying Carlos Bruin-turned-ice show performer husband Eddie Lebec, he was the host of a popular morning radio show in Los Angeles. Which is exactly what led to his character being killed off rather prematurely by way of Zamboni. A few episodes of recurring bliss, and then one day on Jay's radio show, a caller asked him what it was like to be on Cheers, recounted writer Ken Levine. He said something to the effect of, "It's brutal. I have to kiss Rhea Perlman." Well, guess who happened to be listening? J. Thomas was never seen on Cheers again. 14. A Cheers mini-episode was produced for the U.S. Treasury. Early in Cheers' run, its creators were contracted by the U.S. Treasury to create a special mini-episode to promote the purchase of U.S. savings bonds. Titled Uncle Sam Malone, the episode never aired on television nor is it included on any of the DVDs. It was intended to be screened for promotional purposes at savings bond drives only. 15. A lost scene also aired as part of the 1983 Super Bowl XVII pregame show. Back in early 1983, writers Ken Levine and David Isaacs wrote a special one-off scene to air before Super Bowl XVII, in which Sam, Diane, Carla, Norm, Cliff, and NBC announcer Pete Axthelm bet on who will win the big game. They ran it just before game time and it was seen by 80 million people, Levine recalled of the spot on his blog. Nothing we've ever written before or since has been seen by that many eyeballs at one time. But the scene was never repeated. It never appeared on any DVDs. It just disappeared. Until now, you can watch it at the link above. 16. Ted Danson wore a hairpiece to play hair-obsessed Sam, a fact that became apparent when he accepted the Emmy Son's hairpiece in 1990. In the 1993 episode It's Lonely on the Top, Sam shares his follicular challenge with Carla. 17. Viewers frequently complained about the volume of the laugh track, even though there was no laugh track. In 1983, a quick disclaimer, spoken by one of the regular cast members, was added to the beginning of each episode. Cheers was filmed before a live studio audience. This was a direct response to viewer complaints that the laugh track was too loud. 18. The part of Frasier was written for John Lithgow. After recent roles in All But Jazz, Blowout, and The World According to Garp, for which he received his first of 2 consecutive Oscar nominations, Lithgow was not interested in working on the small screen. "I just said no," Lithgow recalled to The Hollywood Reporter. "I barely even remembered that. It was like swatting away a fly. I just wasn't going to do a series." 19. Kelsey Grammer played Frasier Crane for 20 years. Grammer made his Cheers debut in the third premiere in 1984. Though he was intended to be a short-lived character, Crane's popularity with audiences led to him becoming a series regular. 4 months after Cheers ended in May of 1993, Frasier made its debut on the redesigned Cheers stage, no less, and ran for its own 11s. Grammer's 2-decade run as the pretentious psychiatrist is a record-breaking one for an American comedy actor. 20. Tony Soprano's mom played Frasiers mom. 2. Nancy Marchand's character To Kill Diane. The role of Frasier's mom was played by Tom Hanks' wife Rita Wilson in a 2001 Frasier flashback. 21. Kirstie Alley is the only main character who didn't make a guest appearance on Frasier. Throughout Frasier's 11-season runs, Kirstie Alley was the only one of Cheers' main actors to not make an appearance on the popular spin-off, possibly because the psychiatric profession conflicts with her beliefs as a Scientologist. Kirstie once said, "She'd never do a show about a psychiatrist," Kelsey Grammer told Entertainment Weekly in 2002. 22. Frasiers' dad was magically resurrected for the spin-off. When Frasier talked about his family on Cheers, he noted that his father, also a well-respected psychiatrist, had passed away. Yet his ex-cop dad, played by John Mahoney, is a main character in Frasier. Incidentally, Mahoney made a one-off appearance in Cheers' 11th, as a fast-talking jingle writer named C. Flembeck, 23. Norm's first name is Hillary. His name is Hillary Norman Peterson, 24. That Woody played Woody was a total coincidence. Though many of the non-regular bar patrons' real names were used in filming, that Woody Harrelson ended up playing Woody Boyd is by sheer coincidence. The character's name was written into the script long before any actors had auditioned for the role. 25. Norm drank near beer. The bar on the set may have been Y-functional, but that doesn't mean the cast got to spend the day throwing back cold ones. Norm may have had it the worst, as the bar's resident lush, HES rarely seen without a sudsy glass of beer in his hand. But what's really in that glass is near beer, a weakened strain of ale mixed with a bit of salt to keep a perfect head on the glass at all times, which Vent unfortunately had to consume on more than one occasion. 26. The show helped promote the idea of a designated driver. It was important to the producers of Cheers that no tipsy bar patron ever drove him or herself home, so there are frequent references to calling cabs and designated drivers. The Harvard Alcohol Project had a hand in spreading this message. 27. Sam and Diane did get married at the end of season 5. Because Cheers was filmed in front of a live studio audience, the producers had to occasionally trick the audience so that show developments weren't leaked. In order to keep Shelley Long's departure from the series a secret, the live audience saw Sam and Diane get married at the end of 5. The real ending, which sees Diane leaving for 6 months to finish her book, only to return for a guest appearance in the final, was filmed on a closed set. 28. Cheers Habla Español. In September 2011, a Spanish version of the series, also called Cheers, made its debut. It starred Alberto San Juan as a former soccer player turned Irish pub owner and ran for just 1.29. The end of the show is all Ted Danson's fault. Though understandably so. When Danson announced that he'd be leaving the series at the end of the 1992-1993, producers decided that Woody could take over the bar. But Woody Harrelson wasn't interested in continuing the show without Danson, and so its series finale was set. 30. The cast and crew got really drunk for their send-off. NBC made a major event of the series finale, with cast and crew celebrating at Boston's Bullfinch pub, where thousands of fans gathered outside to watch the show on 2 jumbotrons. Then the drinks started flowing, and flowing, and flowing. The show ended at 11, Ken Levine wrote in a 2013 remembrance of the evening for Vulture. The next half hour was an emotional tsunami. Everyone was hugging and crying and doing a lot of drinking. We were all completely wrecked. Then it was time for the cast to make an appearance on The Tonight Show. The cast, in no condition to face anybody, much less 40 million people, douchey trooped downstairs to do the live show, Levine continued. Us non-celeb types stayed back and watched on TV, in horror. They were so they needed designated walkers. They giggled like school girls over nothing, fired spitballs into each other's mouths, squirted water guns. Woody Harrelson implied he gave oral to both Ted Danson and Oliver Stone, and Kirstie Alley sang a song where the only lyric was "Dick, Dick, Dick."